Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors meeting for Monday, July 26, 2021. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Director Budge? Director Budge is here. Director Harris?
Here.
Director Howell?
Here.
Director Hume? Director Jennings is marked as being absent. Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Natoli?
Here.
Director Chenier?
Here.
Director Cerna? Here. Director Valenzuela?
Here.
Chair Miller?
And with
With
that,
that, we have a quorum at 87 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air on Thursday, July 29th at 2:00 p.m. and Saturday, July 31st at 2:00 p.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.net and is closed captioned. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. Thank you, Chair Miller.
thank you. Would everyone please unmute your mics and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic,
which it stands,
one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
liberty and justice.
Ms. Brooks, could you please call the next item?
Absolutely. The next item is the consent calendar, item 2.1 through 2.11.
Any public comment for these?
I have one public comment on item 2.6, which is delegating authority to the delegating authority to the Director of Engineering and Construction or their designee, authority to approve plans and designs for all public works projects. And the comment,
Oh, go ahead.
and the comment is from Helen O'Connell. Please make sure that it is friendly or wheelchairs, blind, and deaf people and other physical limitations. It's easier to change a line on a plan than a wall in a building. Thank you very much, Helen O'Connell.
Helen, for your comment. Do any directors wish to pull any of the items?
Yes, Chair. I'd love to pull 2.10 just for a question.
Okay. Any else?
I'll move the rest of the calendar.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar, less 2.10. And with that, Madam Chair, would you please call the roll?
Madam Chair would love to, but the clerk to the board will.
Oh, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Director
You're welcome.
Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume, absent. Director Jennings is absent. Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
With that, we have a quorum at 87 votes. I will read item 2.10. Resolution declaring a portion of 3009 Power End Road access to transit operations as surplus. And Brent Berniker is here to answer your question once you pose it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Brent, I was hoping that you could just talk through what the process is for the property moving forward. I'm just really interested in how we'll decide who gets access to that property and what type of development proposals to expect.
Sure, no problem. Good evening, Chair Miller, and good evening, Director Valenzuela. So we the process right now, what we do is we bring this to the board for approval for consideration. I should say. You'll vote on this. If you vote to move this ahead, we will actually go about and market this. We have to market this under the new Surplus Land Act to affordable housing agencies. They will submit their request. If they're interested in this, they'll submit that to the real estate department. We'll review those requests. We'll consider those. We'll make sure we look at price, development, what they're looking at. If those are acceptable terms, we would bring those back to the board for review. Typically, we'll go through an open session, and if there's multiple offers, and then we'll go through closed session to determine price and terms. If someone does not, if an affordable housing agency does not, oops, I'm getting some feedback. Sorry, that's why I stopped. If an affordable agency does not have interest, then it will go out to the public and we'll be able to market that to any developers out there that are interested.
Great. And just to clarify, I mean, if somebody came in, say an affordable housing developer, and offered a below market offer, would we still see that and be able to consider it?
If it's a below market offer, it's a good question. We've typically had those. We at least have one developer that in the past that has had at least a market offer, and then we've brought many proposals. Typically, we'll try to vet them as well, so we're making sure that this is a real buyer that's interested. So if we can vet this and the buyer is interested in the property, we can bring that to the board for consideration. Yeah.
I would love that. Thank you, Brent. I think future, like other changes to the California Surplus Land Act have made it super clear that if it's below market because they're trying to increase affordability, that's all okay too, because it's all a public benefit. So thank you for answering my questions. I had some folks curious about what the process would be moving forward. And with that, Chair, I'm happy to move the item.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second on item 2.10. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume, marked as being absent, Director Jennings, marked as being absent, Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna, Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
Chair Miller. With that, we have a quorum at 87 votes. Next item is item 7.1, resolution. SACRT's Outstanding Public Transportation System Achievement Award from the American Public Transportation Association and approving a one-time incentive pay for all employees, presented by Shelley Valentin.
Thank you, Cindy. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chair Miller, board, and everyone joining us tonight. So just 2 years ago, I was before you presenting the good news that our General Manager, CEO, received the APTA Outstanding Manager of the Year Award. It's a prestigious award that's the equivalent of the Oscars for the transit industry. Well, I'm back, and I'm here to share the exciting news that we got another Oscar award. And this time it is for being the best transit agency in all of North America. With over 1,500 member organizations, the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA, is the leading force in advancing public transportation, representing organizations not just in the US, but also in Canada, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. APTA's Outstanding System Achievement Award is the highest honor given to a transit agency, recognizing leadership, excellence, and innovation in advancing the industry. This award is given to only one agency in each category of small, mid-sized, and large systems. SACRT received the award for the mid-size category. Can you still hear me okay?
Fine.
Thank you. So we were evaluated for our accomplishments in the last 3 years in 12 different areas, including safety, operations, finance, marketing, customer relations, diversity and equity, and sustainability, among many others. In their recent press release, APTA acknowledged our historic accomplishments, such as SACRT Forward, our Smart Ride microtransit service, annexations, the Student Ride Free program, our pre-pandemic ridership growth, and our dramatic fiscal recovery. Our awards application was 23 pages long, and it could have really been so much longer if not for the word limit, because there were just a lot of accomplishments to talk about. When I received the call from APTA to inform us of the award, the awards committee members shared that they received some of the most competitive and outstanding entries this year, and that our submission was one of the best they have seen in his many years of serving on the committee. We are excited to formally receive this award in a ceremony at the APTA annual conference, attended by thousands of industry professionals. This will be in November. We hope our board members can join us in this special event. We will be holding some activities the next few months to celebrate this award with the community and our employees, so stay tuned. Well, what a way to end an extraordinary year for SACRT. This award is the culmination of a year that, despite the extraordinary challenges brought by the pandemic, was filled with remarkable accomplishments. And let me just name a few. This year, despite ridership declines, we have protected jobs and ended the fiscal year with a $12.8 million surplus. In the last 5 years, our operating and capital reserves increased by 500%. We have been an active social service partner in our community, providing Wi-Fi buses, free rides to voting centers, and vaccination appointments. We have also successfully transitioned our in-house or paratransit operations and receive high customer service satisfaction rating. And that's not an easy feat in the middle of the pandemic. We completed the Elk Grove annexation, and we continue to expand our successful Smart Ride microtransit services. And we have received over $366 million in grants the last 2 years for our light rail modernization. And we are on our way to making the light rail experience even better for our customers, including the purchase of brand new low-floor Siemens rail cars. Well, I can go on, but we don't have all night. So provided in your staff report, as well as in the next item for the general manager's performance evaluation, is a comprehensive list of our fiscal year accomplishments. So at this point, we want to thank our board for your strategic leadership and guidance, and our general manager for driving us to excellence. We want to thank our passengers, our stakeholders, our community and union partners, and transit advocates. You all make us strive to keep getting better each day. And last but certainly not the least, the men and women of SACRT, the force behind all of our accomplishments. This award is the result of the collective efforts of our nearly 1,300 employees. And in recognition of this extraordinary year and to celebrate this prestigious award, we respectfully ask the board to consider a resolution proposing a one-time incentive pay of $750 for all of our full-time active employees and $350 for part-time employees. This will be funded by our fiscal year 2021 operating surplus. Thank you for considering this proposal, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kelly. You know, this award really belongs to everyone at RT, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you on your accomplishments, especially this past year, where we continuously demonstrated the vital role that public transit played in our community. You brought healthcare professionals to the front lines, you delivered groceries and medicine to our at-risk populations, and you connected essential workers to your places of work. So I'd say you were doubly essential. So thank you, and please accept this small token if approved by the board. Any comments from other board members or questions?
I'll just say, Chair, that when I got elected, you know, you have that conversation about which boards and commissions do you want to be on? And the top one on my list was regional transit. And a big part of it was knowing this organization, knowing the innovation, knowing some of the people, and really wanting to be a part of it and be a part of the awesome work that was happening in Sacramento. So I'm incredibly proud to be on this board, incredibly proud of everything you've all done, and looking forward to winning it again next year. I think we should go for a streak here and just keep like blowing everybody out of the water with how awesome RT is. So thank you for all your work, and just, yeah, really supportive of this motion. I'll happily move the item, Chair.
Okay, there's a motion.
I'll second.
There's a second. Was that Jay?
It was.
Okay. Any other comments? With that, with a motion and a second, I will call for the roll, please.
Director
Ms. Brooks?
Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume, still marked as being absent. Director Jennings is marked as being absent. Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
and Chair Miller. With that, we have a quorum at 87 votes. I just want to let you know that I did skip over public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda because we did not have any comments. So I'm moving on to item 7.2, resolution, annual performance-based evaluation for the general manager CEO and Fourth Amendment to the employment agreement with Henry Lee, presented by Shelley Valentin.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, board, for approving this small token of appreciation for our employees. On behalf of all of us, we really appreciate it. So the board met in closed session on June 14th to conduct the general manager's annual performance evaluation. And prior to this meeting, the board was provided with a comprehensive list of SAC-RT's accomplishments for fiscal year 2021, as well as the general manager's goals for fiscal year 2022. These documents are all attached to the staff report for this item. This is also our first year of implementing our new strategic plan that incorporates performance measures for all of our strategic priorities. A copy of our results for the first 3 quarters is also included in the document packet provided to the board. The board determined that the general manager met and in most cases exceeded the key performance goals set for fiscal year 2021. And in recognition of this, it is proposed that the general manager receives a 3% performance-based salary increase, similar to what the management and confidential employee group and all our other employee union groups are receiving annually. It is also proposed that the general manager receives an additional $7,000 annually in the form of an employer contribution to a 401(a) deferred compensation plan. And before you is a resolution approving the general manager's performance evaluation and the proposed performance-based incentives. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments?
I have a comment, Steve.
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, thanks. No, number one, I want to move the item, but also just note as our previous item and the awards that we've won. Yes, everyone is responsible collectively for this, but this is all under the leadership of Henry Lee. And we don't have to go back very far to know how he has really helped and led the turnaround of this organization to become an organization that's looked at across the country as a model. So I'm very, very happy to move this item and really let Henry know how much we appreciate all of the work that he's done, the persistence that he's had to get us where we are, even through these very, very difficult times. So just move the item.
I'll second that and just add that it typically takes a really, really long time to turn a train around, but Henry did it much faster than I've ever seen before. And again, you know, leading all of those employees that work for the district.
Good one.
Well, you have something in Folsom we can turn trains around on, don't you?
Actually, that's true. So in Folsom, we can always do things much faster. We have a turntable.
There you go. All right. Well, there's a motion and a second. Madam Semi-retired clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume, still marked as being absent. Director Jennings is marked as being absent. Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna, Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
Chair Miller. With that, we have a quorum at 87 votes. Moving on to the next item. Authorizing the issuance and sale of revenue refunding bonds and approving an amended and restated credit agreement. Resolution A, authorizing the issuance and sale of not to exceed $50 million aggregate principal amount of Sacramento Regional Transit District Revenue Refunding Bonds Series 2021A. 2, the execution and/or delivery of a master indenture, a first supplemental indenture, a bond purchase contract, preliminary and final official statements, and a continuing disclosure agreement, and certain related matters. This resolution requires a 2/3 vote. The next resolution under this item is approving the execution and delivery of an amended and restated credit agreement with U.S. Bank National Association and a promissory note evidencing advances to be made by U.S. Bank National Association pursuant to a line of credit facility in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million at any one time, with a final maturity date of September 30th, 2022. And here to present is Brent Berniker.
Good evening again, board. Today's presentation is to give you an update on the bond refinancing plan and project, and also get you to finalize the documents. Slide, can I have, oh, I don't have the slides up. There, I think they're going now. Okay, slide 2, please. I think I went too quick on this one. All right, so here's this is a list of the strong team of professionals now that have been working on this refinancing plan for months. The members on this slide are the top leaders in their field and all have done an excellent job in positioning SAC-RT for generating the most cash flow savings for this deal, as well as making sure we're in compliance with all the regulatory rules. Next slide. To recap, SAC-RT issued bonds back in November of 2012. They are farebox revenue bonds. The documents have a call feature in there that allows us to early refinance the debt. We're still in that window of opportunity now. And with interest rates near the lowest level in years, this is looking to be advantageous time to process a refunding. The savings from this refunding is anticipated to go towards our capital needs. Next slide. So, our debt service cash flow savings is estimated to be about $12 million over the next 6 years. With current market conditions as they are, our anticipated payment for these next 6 years is actually anticipated to be about $1.5 million, as opposed to the $3.5 million we're paying annually. So this is going to be a good savings for us each year. This lower payment, again, will continue for 6 years. SAC-RT's financial improvement, as well as expanded security pledge on the Series 2021 bonds, have resulted in a ratings of A2, higher than the current ratings on the Series 2012 bonds of A3. Next slide. With that, I'd like to actually turn this over to Darren Hodge, our financial advisor from PFM, and he'll quickly go through the major points on the refunding. Darren.
Thank you, Brent. Good evening, board. So on this slide, quickly what I want to go over is just an overview of the refinancing here. So what we will be doing is refinancing all of our outstanding Series 2012 farebox revenue bonds. Those are outstanding in an amount of about $44.6 million. But what I really want to focus on is the savings that this refinancing will generate. So right now in today's market, we're estimating that on a present value basis, we will be able to generate savings of about $11.6 million. And even more importantly, when you look at this chart right here, this shows the cash flow savings. So this will be a reduction in our overall debt service payments over the next 6 years. And those gold bars right there, what those represent are the savings or the reduction in debt service that we'll experience over the next 6 years. So those are savings, as Brent mentioned, that you'll reflect in lower debt service costs over that time. And then beginning in fiscal 29, you'll see that our debt service is consistent with what it currently is. Next slide, please. So as Brent mentioned, we were originally undertaking this transaction in early 2020. And obviously with the COVID pandemic, that put a halt on our refinancing. And over the next 12 months, what we did is we worked with our working group, our financing team, as well as our line of credit bank, US Bank, to develop a structure that was very marketable for investors and achieve those A2 ratings Brent talked about to get us lower yields. But more importantly, if we turn to the next slide, what I want to talk about is the items and the events that are going to be proceeding here in the next few weeks. So assuming that we have approval tonight, what we will be doing is posting our primary marketing document, which we call the preliminary official statement, this week on the 29th. That will put us in position to price our bonds next Thursday, August 5th, ultimately close August 19th. Now, again, when I talk about pricing on August 5th, that is the date that we will set our yields and our interest rates on the bonds. And so what's important with that, as Brent mentioned, our working group, is making sure that we've got top quality and best in class underwriters. And as part of this procurement, we did in fact hire very strong underwriters in the form of RBC and US Bank, who have really been working with us over the past 18 months to get us in the place that we are today. Brent, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great. Next slide. So we're at the final stretch. So now all we're doing is seeking approval for all the documents listed in the staff report. And Darren and we have a team of legal folks as well on this call that are available to answer any questions that you may have, if you have any.
I just have I don't know if it's a question or a comment. I would have to assume that this is also in large part the result of the turnaround of the organization and the fact that I would think that our credit rating has improved dramatically since 2012.
Yeah, thank you, Director Howell. Actually, Darren and I were talking about this right before the call, and it's a combination of the two. I definitely would say without the financial improvement, we wouldn't be here. So that's a big component. The other big component, like we said, is we're able to give that additional security pledge of LTF revenues. But with it's you have to have both of them to get the positive results we've had. So
right,
yes,
but a savings of 11 million is 25% of the total, and that's very laudable accomplishment.
No, you're right. SAC-RT's financial position is the best it's been
probably since day one.
Yeah. Yes, this has been a great turnaround, and very proud of the organization and the board that what you guys have been able to accomplish. Yeah, thank you.
The other thing I'd add to that is the financial position of RT really allowed us to negotiate with US Bank to improve the terms and allow us to include LTF revenues as a pledge to the bonds. I don't think you can overlook that, because that's going to be very critical to making sure that we get the lowest interest rates when we price. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent and Darren. Any other questions?
I'll move the item.
Second. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
In a second, was that Terry and Jeff?
Terry and Jay.
Jay, okay, sorry.
KJ, that famous combo.
Happy to be with you, Carrie.
Correct. Who made the motion? Carrie?
Yes.
Carrie.
That's for
yes.
A. We'll take these separately. So with that, Clerk Brooks, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. On the resolution A, this one requires a 2/3 vote. As a reminder, Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume, still absent. Director Jennings is marked as being absent. Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Aye.
With that, the motion carries at 87 votes. Now for Resolution B, we need a motion and a second, please.
I'll move again.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
For item B, Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Director Howell,
Yes.
Director Hume is marked as being absent, as well as Director Jennings, Director Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli,
Aye.
Director Chenier,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
Again, the motion carries at 87 votes. Thank you. The next item is item 7.4, information, SAC-RT Draft Network Integration Plan, presented by Laura Ham.
Good evening, Chair Miller and directors. The item before you tonight is an informational item regarding SAC-RT's draft network integration plan. General Manager Lee provided you with an overview of the plan at your last meeting, and the plan is a condition of our grant sponsor Caltrans for SAC-RT's 2018 grant under the state TIRCP program, which funds our 20 new low-floor light rail vehicles to ensure that major state-funded rail projects connect cohesively with the state rail system. And its primary subject is future Gold Line service, future bus service to the Sac Valley Station and potentially the rail yards, and integration of fares into a statewide system. As noted in the staff report, the network plan is primarily a technical study and does not propose service changes. We have had it out for public review since June, but prior to enacting any major service changes, SAC-RT would have to do a more thorough round of public engagement, as we typically do for major changes, including a Title VI analysis. The analysis in the network plan would feed into any future service changes and that process. The comment period for the draft plan will conclude at the end of July. We will respond to any comments and then bring back a final version, most likely in August or early September. Comments can be made now or submitted online from our project website on sacrt.com. And with me tonight to field any questions is James Drake, who's the project manager for this report, as well as our consulting team from AECOM. With that, I would be glad to take any questions, or we will be back to see you in a month or so with the final version. Thank you.
Questions, board members? It looks like you're getting off easy, Laura.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your report. I've scrolled through it. It looks very, very comprehensive. I have not read the whole thing yet, though.
It's a long one. Thank you.
Long one. But it looks very comprehensive from what I've seen so far. Okay, with that, we can move on to the next item, please.
Next item is item 7.5, information, strategic action plan for the Sacramento Regional Transit Safe Parking Locations. This will be presented by Chris Flores, Brent Berniker, and Lisa Hines. And Chair Miller, whenever you're ready, I have about 13 public comments to read.
Okay, let's take the staff presentation and we do public comment, please.
Sounds good. Good evening, Chair Miller and the board. We are here tonight to present an informational update and to receive board feedback and develop a strategic action plan for potential SAC-RT safe parking locations. As we all know, homelessness is an ever-growing issue in our community and in so many across the country. With the scale of the crisis often surpassing the capacities of existing safety nets, many individuals turn to public transit vehicles, stops, and stations for shelter. Many individuals experiencing homelessness also use transit to reach destinations such as workplaces, shelters, and community services. This is a growing challenge for many transit agencies and impacts employees and passengers who use public transit. The last Sacramento County point-in-time count, conducted January 2019, counted nearly 6,000 persons experiencing homelessness in the county. Since that time, we know the number has worsened due to the pandemic. SAC-RT is working with our association, APTA, on best practices and to understand how our peers are addressing the issue. SACRT is committed to being a partner with regional agencies as they work to solve homelessness for individuals and families and to make the community stronger and safer for all. In January 2021, SACRT joined a coalition of transit agencies across California to request the legislature provide targeted resources for public transit systems as they are increasingly tasked with addressing the homeless crisis in our communities. Like the vast majority of public transit agencies, SACRT does not receive any local, state, or federal funds to address homelessness. Still, SACRT has worked with our partners to develop coordinated and responsive plans to address the crisis. A few examples of how we have assisted. We have hired a master's in social work to connect those experiencing homelessness with critical social services, including mental health, system of care, primary care services, housing linkages, and other resources. We are partnering with housing and shelter services to provide tickets to be distributed to unhoused individuals so they can ride our system and connect to services. We have coordinated with local jurisdictions on shuttle services to and from cooling and warming centers and have provided transportation to Project Room Key hotel sites. We have also revamped our fare inspector program, transit ambassadors, with an emphasis on customer service, and we will continue to look at ways we can assist those experiencing homelessness on our system. At the end of last year, City of Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg announced his intent to create a citywide master plan for homelessness housing solutions with the goal of accommodating 5,000 individuals with beds, roofs, and safe spaces. Since that time, all 8 City Council members have unveiled new potential sites to shelter homeless individuals in their districts, and City has indicated they are prepared to spend $75 million to carry out the homeless master plan. As you can see, council members have proposed a variety of sites throughout the city on both public and private property. The city is scheduled to vote on the master plan at their August 10th council meeting. I would like to highlight the city has already implemented assortment of solutions to address homelessness. The City of Sacramento has opened a 24/7 safe ground site in the parking lot near W and 6th Street. The lot has 2 distinct spaces, one for tent camping, the other for safe parking for vehicles. It can host approximately 100 to 150 individuals experiencing homelessness. And in April, the City of Sacramento opened the South Front Street safe parking. Their site is also open 24/7 and can host approximately 60 vehicles, depending on their sizes. Both sites are staffed around the clock and offer restrooms, storage, and meal access. Case managers work out of trailer on site, offering social service supports and housing coordination. Now I'd like to turn it over to our VP of Finance, Brent Berniger, to discuss the 3 SACRT properties that are proposed with the safe parking plan.
All right. Thank you, Chris. There we go. So as previously mentioned, city staff identified 3 light rail parking lots for consideration. That's Franklin, Roseville Road, and Florin. In summary, the program would allow the city to provide temporary living arrangements for individuals that qualify for these services. The City of Sacramento would manage safe housing program, which allows only overnight stays for those people that have a car, RV, or van. The city would operate and maintain restrooms and other services to help while finding these unhoused individuals a more permanent solution. Next slide. So the first site that we're looking at is the Franklin Station. There's 680 spaces available. The pre-COVID utilization was around 50% at this site. The lot was procured with FTA funds, so this will require FTA approval if the board chooses to move ahead. The plan for this site is to carve out about 40 to 100 parking spaces for parking and other services needed to operate the program. Director Jennings met with staff back in January to determine parking availability while also providing us some concepts and background on how other agencies ran a similar program. The next slide. So the second site we're looking at is Roseville Road. This has 1,087 parking spaces. Pre-COVID utilization was around 40%. The site was funded with Caltrans funds, and so Caltrans would need to approve of this, as well as the FTA. There would be a concurrence from the FTA. The plan for this site is a carve out of between 100 to 300 spaces. SACRT staff met with Director Cerna and Councilmember Lowy to discuss potential options and concepts at this site. Next slide. The third slide is the Florin Road site. This site has 1,076 parking spaces with around 15% utilization. The site was also funded with FTA money, and their FTA concurrence is required. Some additional considerations on this site is we have a neighboring site with an open area without adequate fencing, which could result in unsupervised overspill from that area, so we have to be aware of that. And then shortly, In the next few months, Sacramento will be leasing some of the parking spaces to PG&E for some underground work that they'll be doing, and that's in that blue section right there on the map. The request for this site is only 125 cars, which is good because we're using this site for these other purposes that I just mentioned. Slide 11. So with that, I'd like to discuss how Sacramento is directly involved in this process. The homeless crisis is something that cannot be just solved with one simple solution. We as a region and a country need to explore all options to help bring about a change. As a partner in the community, we've already taken steps to help individuals in need by providing heavily discounted fare media to the county as well as nonprofit agencies. As Chris mentioned earlier, we're hiring social workers and helping with food delivery and shuttles to assist. As the top provider of transit services, we need to make sure our railways are safe and clean to prevent accidents and ensure that all of our riders have a feeling of safety when riding the system. Slide 12. As a large community partner, there are many reasons for SAC-RT to work on concepts to address this crisis. SAC-RT has resources that are underutilized, so temporary solutions definitely could work. Getting involved in assisting our cities is a definition of being a good partner, and helping providing a regional solution to this is a big challenge. Next slide. Helping those that are unhoused, we also could receive benefits at SAC-RT. Allowing those unhoused a safe, controlled space to live should reduce the daily and weekly cleanups that we need to do along the right-of-ways. This program will also help provide better connections and access to these social workers, which in the end will help provide the much-needed services to the unhoused and eventually help them come back to RT as a future transit rider. Slide 14. The safe parking program can be seen as a two-step solution. For the temporary solution, it would be offering temporary help that would provide a safe environment for people to sleep and some stability in their lives while they're working on their permanent solution. And then longer term, we'll evaluate these underutilized sites and look for more permanent long-term housing and retail needs. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Lisa Hines to give some overall concerns and considerations that need to be discussed before doing anything. Lisa.
Thanks, Brent. Chair Miller, members of the board. A project this large presents numerous obstacles. We at SAC-RT are driven to provide a clean, safe, and convenient light rail system. Providing shelter for the unhoused population in our rail parking lots will undoubtedly increase our exposure to safety and security related events. Safety and security for our riders and employees is our number one priority at SAC-RT. SAC-RT riders and their perception of safety and security has been an ongoing issue for SAC-RT for decades. In fact, this is a national issue for most transit agencies. As we try to rebuild ridership, the customer's perception of safety and security on our system is paramount. Prior to the pandemic, homelessness and safety were consistently identified by our riders as reasons not to use public transit. A rise in homelessness caused by COVID and an economic downturn will continue to have a negative impact on the public's perception of transit as a safe, clean, and welcoming alternative to driving, ultimately affecting bringing back our ridership. Next slide. The California Public Utilities Commission, the state agency that oversees rail safety in California, has weighed in on this proposal. They expressed concern over SAC-RT providing shelter to unhoused individuals in proximity to our railroad tracks. It is their recommendation that SAC-RT provide our own security guards 24/7 to the identified locations in addition to what the city will be providing. Additionally, with the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic, it is important to consider potential health concerns. Anytime you increase the amount of people near our right-of-way, there is the potential for increased accidents, incidents, and occurrences. We have already seen an increase in mental health related accidents this past year along our system. It may be very difficult to unwind this project in our parking lots once it is activated. In the 2018 Martin versus Boise case, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit ruled cities cannot enforce anti-camping ordinances if they do not have enough homeless shelter beds available for their homeless population. Next slide. Providing safe parking for a segment of the homeless population, whom many suffer from drug abuse and mental health issues, warrants a discussion on the progress made on safety and security for our riders and their vehicles. Although there will be security guards present, we know that the perception of safety and security wins every time over the reality of safety and security. Also, there may be a mismatch in services available at these locations versus the community need. There are large numbers of homeless that live near the Roseville Road Light Rail Station. With limited services being provided to some in our parking lot, leaves hundreds more needing services that will not be available to them. The effects of the increasing number of unhoused individuals living on and around our property already is a balance between social justice, service, and enforcement. Next slide. There is a cost of adding the housing and shelter of unhoused individuals to our mission, moving you where you want to go, when you want to go. Our agency has seen a $700,000 increase for insurance in 2022. There is a limited insurance market available in California for transit, coupled with our loss history. A fire, accident, or crime in our parking lot will be the responsibility of SACRT. Rodent infestation, a hazmat spill, suicide, or death could prevent SACRT from being able to focus on providing transportation to all. The increased job duties and responsibilities for SACRT employees, as well as the impact to our status with regulatory agencies, should also be considered in evaluating this proposal. And Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, I would like to provide a brief recap and then hope to answer any questions and receive feedback from the board. The City of Sacramento is scheduled to vote on the homeless siting master plan on August 10th. They have identified 3 potential SACRT light rail parking lots for safe parking locations. The city has requested the SACRT board provide feedback on their proposal and provide any parameters regarding these potential sites. They are looking for direction on how many spots should be assigned to these 3 proposed locations and what other parameters such as hours of operation, types of vehicles allowed, timeline for the pilot, etc. Mayor Steinberg has indicated he would support a phased pilot approach to demonstrate a safe parking site works for on a SACRT property. The SACRT board and state and federal regulators would have to approve any project before it could move forward. With that, that concludes our report. Chair Miller, I'll turn it back to you and the board for comments and questions.
Thank you, Chris. Comments and questions. Who'd like to go first?
Steve, I don't mind but going first.
Yeah.
Steve,
So-
did you want to do public comment first? I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Jay. I appreciate the
No,
former
that's good. That's good.
board chairs helping me.
Yeah.
Cindy, let's go ahead with the public comment. Thank you.
Okay. I have a letter that was sent by 6 people. I'm going to name the people and the businesses they're associated with, and then I will read you the letter. The letter comes from Todd Berry, B&Z Properties, Tina Dover, B&Z Properties, John Fogy from Rockland 65, Rebecca Evans on behalf of the property owners of the 80-watt district PBID, Brown Cattle Company, and David Coonan, chairman of the 80-watt district. I received the same letter from all of them, and it reads, over the past year, the number of homeless individuals in our area has increased, even with the full-time security measures taken by the 80-watt district team. The problem has become much more visible, and the impact on the entire community and my property is more apparent. We understand that homelessness is a complex social issue with many contributing factors that cannot be easily or quickly solved by a single agency or organization. However, the theft, vandalism, fear, and loss of business is rampant since the COVID and camping laws went into effect, and we are suffering. If you add to this struggle by placing a homeless town on the outskirts of our business area, we are extremely concerned for the additional issues and dangers our businesses and employees will face. We know the City of Sacramento and County of Sacramento has more work to do, and the business community in the 80-watt district looks forward to the involvement of our entire community as we take on this serious issue. We were only made aware of the potential proposal to retask the property between Winters/Roseville Road by the district team today, July 21st, as they've been asking for confirmation on this proposal and received no solid information. We respectfully request that prior to any final approval for the RTD parking lot to be used in this capacity, that business community be included in the conversation, as we will bear the negative impacts of the proposal. We ask that the attached following questions be answered and that the human safety factor be looked at. We appreciate your service to the RTD board and look forward to working together, if it comes forward, to have the benefit of all sides of the conversation and is as effective and successful as possible. And I'm not going to read all the questions, but board members, you have been provided a copy of all these comments. So the next comment is from Michael Alt from the Downtown Sacramento Partnership. We value and appreciate SacRT's continued commitment as a community partner in support of our unhoused population through social work services, ride passes for unhoused individuals, shuttles for warming and cooling centers, as well as project room key sites. We applaud the collaboration of SacRT with Sacramento City Council members to present potential concepts for safe ground sites as part of their ongoing support in assisting with the homeless crisis. The crisis in Sacramento is a regional challenge that requires a multi-jurisdictional approach and collaborative neighborhood input to ensure effective solutions throughout the city and county. While safe ground sites are necessary short-term as long-term solutions are identified, any proposed site must include community input and dialogue with neighbors and PBIDs to ensure proposals are accompanied by City of Sacramento commitments to provide best practices such as good neighbor policy, on-site security, hygiene support, and wraparound services. Furthermore, safe ground sites must include the assurance of clean, safe, and secure environments for residents. We appreciate your service to the SacRT board and look forward to being a partner in our alien efforts to provide solutions for the most vulnerable population of our region. Next, from Deacon Dennis Gorsuch from the Roman Catholic Church, Diocese of Sacramento. I am in support of the 3 safe campground sites and strongly urge the approval of these sites by the RT board. Please let me know if I can answer any of your questions. The next is from Sharon Yoder of Yoder and Company. Placing a homeless camp at the border of the city-county boundaries adjacent to the 80-watt district and in the Sacramento RT parking lot appears to be irresponsible and short-sighted as well as wasteful. Homeless people come to an area because their friends are there and there is no pushback. This proposal will attract more homeless people. Mentally ill and criminal homeless will not agree to live in the camp and will continue to be a problem. The 80-watt district and the SacRT stations are already challenged locations. Also, they are in a transportation district. The mission of the 80-watt district is safe and clean. Rapid transit and transportation district goal is to attract more people that utilize public transportation, not repel them. Degrading rapid transit's ability to provide safe journey hurts downtown areas who need customers. Sacramento City sales tax revenues correlate with successful downtown businesses. This proposal will hamper the objectives of both the district and RT goals. The city has not demonstrated a willingness to cooperate with adjacent jurisdictions. 80-watt district and RT will incur additional costs due to security and property damage. Will they be reimbursed? Homelessness will continue. It is not temporary, even though you say the safe park and camp location is temporary. Let's find a long-term solution for the homeless who want shelter. I request that the proposed safe park, safe camp be denied. Next is from Mary Egan and Bob Thomas. For the last year, Bob Thomas and I have been deeply involved in aligning city-county services toward temporary, humane, and supported encampments and safe parking as a first step toward housing the unhoused. The RT spaces are a starting point to address county-wide need estimated at 10,000 unhoused. These spaces are essential as a first step. The time is now. Your vote is critical. We support the allocation of RT parking lots as proposed. The next is from Corey DeRue, Executive Director of the Florin Road Partnership. To our great surprise, Florin Road Partnership was informed about the choice of location, Florin Road Light Rail Station, by regional transit staff, not the organizations proposing the site. Despite the possible Brown Act violations by suppressing public comments at today's informational meeting, our South Sacramento community still expects an opportunity to comment and be included in discussions regarding the impacts of this proposed action. We are making the assumption that moving forward, protocols to include the community will be added. Florin Station is located in the heart of our district. It is facing Florin Road with Habitat for Humanity homes on Indian Lane, approximately 500 feet from the proposed site. Luther Burbank High School is located just across Florin Road. Many students use light rail to get to school. Furthermore, just across the tracks are Southgate Mobile Home Estates with many fixed-income seniors who cannot afford to relocate. As with our community's previous stance in 2019 against this site being used for homeless impact mitigation, we continue to strongly oppose the use of this location along with 3 other locations as safe parking site as proposed. The negative impacts on our community as well as our businesses already desperate for COVID-19 recovery will be numerous. We agree that the Florin Station is underutilized and greatly look forward to continued acceptance of site proposals to reimagine this location as per ULI's 2018 national project. The Florin Road Partnership will work with regional transit every step of the way as we move forward. Thank you for your time and consideration on this very important matter. The next is from James C. Young. I have owned a warehouse on 4550 Roseville Road since 1985. I have paid property tax every year and voted to self-assess in order to fund the 80-watt district PBID because Sacramento County did not have the resources to protect the area. Now, in addition to this milestone, the county is in effect imposing a taking of my property to provide land for the homeless population. Of course, the intent is wonderful, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. This idea solves nothing but creates new, intractable problems. In my 75 years, I've learned one thing. Anytime the government tells you something is temporary, it will become indestructible and permanent lasting for eons, morphing into unanticipated negative outcomes. Please do not do this. You are literally destroying an area for exactly nothing in return. And the last comment is from Chris Evans, Executive Director of the Antelope Business Community District. The Antelope Business Community District is a property business improvement district that represents 96 business property owners and 130 plus businesses, all of whom will be negatively impacted if the proposed Roseville Road Safe Park location is selected without substantial, memorialized, and monitored mitigating measures. As a PBID, we work with our homeless individuals daily, sometimes hourly. The homeless we work with have different needs, issues, and concerns than other areas of Sacramento. We believe that one of these areas most impacted by this proposal, we have a valuable perspective to add to the conversation. Obviously, the full depth of our concern can't be explained in a 250-word email. While at tonight's public comment isn't being allowed, we want to be on record that we respectfully request, prior to any additional consideration on this proposal, input and support be received from the public. The businesses that will bear the consequences of this proposal should have an opportunity to provide their perspective via more than email. I know that many businesses in my district would want to contribute to the conversation. We appreciate your service to our community and look forward to cooperatively working together towards a common goal of helping those in need. That concludes public comment, and all of the public comments that I have received have been put on the website.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. Now we can move on to questions and comments, and I believe, was it Linda?
I'll go second.
Okay. Budge, followed by Harris.
Yeah, sorry. So I really, we all share this problem. I understand that. But the other problem that we share is, as Director Cerna identified years ago, creating choice ridership. And number one, I am very concerned that that as we try to get back to a point where people are willing to ride regional transit, specifically light rail, that this is a significant block to creating that goal that we are all striving for. Every day the newspaper, the Sacramento Bee, is full of discussion about climate change and the things that we need to do in order to create a population that is willing to take public transit or drive electric vehicles. And I don't see this as facilitating that goal. And I am really sympathetic to the plight of the business community. Many of us have programs, law enforcement programs, that try to help the local businesses deal with not only just loitering on the property or panhandling, but also people like in the hotels who actually are stealing things out of cars that people have parked overnight because they were a guest at the hotel. So I am hopeful that that this will come back, whatever the City Council of Sacramento decides to do. And I appreciate the mayor contacting me to talk about the issues. Whatever the City of Sacramento City Council decides to do, I hope that it will come back to this board for future action. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Jeff, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Look, you know, the impacts of homelessness in Sacramento have become very dire. The impacts to business are undeniable. The impacts to RT are also very strong. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the Roseville Road area, for example, the homeless camping along Roseville Road is already at an extreme pitch. The idea here is to create a safe ground scenario whereby you can apply safety and hygiene and services and therefore aid the situation. If the city of Sacramento and the county of Sacramento do nothing, the extent of homelessness will increase dramatically, as it has over the last 2 years, and the impacts of the homeless population upon businesses and those in houses will become ever more extreme. We've done this dance for a long time. If we do not take strong action, and soon, our city will suffer the plight of other West Coast cities that have become greatly decimated by the effects of homelessness. It cuts both ways. You know, there are some people who are situationally homeless who are easily helped, and there are a large, vast number of people who suffer from mental infirmities and extreme drug addiction. And, you know, if we do not provide safe space for the homeless, our problems get worse. The assumption that having a safe ground would create more impacts in an area, I think, is fallacious. We have already demonstrated that we can run safe grounds and control the impacts of that homeless population in the adjacent area. For us as RT board members to allow this to happen, I think benefits RT, benefits the housed population, and benefits the unhoused population. We need to take action on the homelessness issue. We've done very little for a long time. We've made some headway. You know, we housed 2,700 people in 1 year, but the numbers are not working in our favor, and the pandemic has been extremely injurious to our efforts. This is a good proposal. I think it's one that RT should take seriously. And again, I'd like to reiterate that taking no action here and not allowing sites to be used is going to be not only at the detriment of the city and the county, but we lose a great opportunity. I do not believe that this will negatively impact RT ridership. If you look at Reading Avenue, if you look at almost any rail area, you will see numbers of homeless camps right adjacent to the tracks. Homeless often go to the parkway and to rail tracks because those are areas where they're molested the least. But, you know, the impacts of homelessness already affect RT. I think it would really reflect well upon this organization to materially help the city of Sacramento with the devastating situation that we're facing. I fear that inaction will cause great losses to our city in a short period of time. So I urge this board to consider allowing RT to use some of these areas in these 3 locations. And I think that we will see nothing but positive benefits if we do so. Thank you, Chair.
Chair Miller, Director
Mr. Chair, this is Director Cerna.
Okay.
And Director Antoli would like to talk to Director Cerna, please.
Okay. Don, I heard you first, then.
Good. That's Phil got in there. That's okay. This is
okay.
Phil's
Phil,
area, so.
and then Mr. Natoli.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Listening to the public comments that were submitted in writing, there's obviously some consistent concern expressed about process. And so I wanted to, before speaking to kind of the broader philosophical question in front of us, maybe ask staff for a little more clarity on what tonight's action by the Regional Transit Board of Directors, where does tonight's decision point fall in the continuum of decision making that would result one way or another in RT property being used? Would, for instance, would we vote to generally share our disposition as a formal vote that goes to the city council? The city council decides through their kind of comprehensive effort about citing these safe parking facilities. Would it then be just left to the city then to work with city staff to work with RT staff to make it happen if it was the will of this board to agree with that? Or would there be another opportunity for this board to make a final decision, and perhaps given the nature of the concerns expressed by especially the PBID representation, maybe a greater opportunity to sit down with them and give them some time to understand and hear maybe directly from our staff and perhaps even directors about what this is and what this is not. I'm not sure which staff member wants to respond to that.
Director Cerna, this is Chair Miller. This is informational tonight, so I'm sure this would have to come back for a vote.
Okay, I'd like to hear from, no disrespect, I'd like to hear from staff though about kind of what's the timing, where would the opportunities lay for PBIDs in particular to have some greater opportunities to be to learn the details, because I think a lot of the concern that was expressed, quite frankly, is based on perhaps not knowing some of the details that our staff are aware of, and perhaps even our directors are aware of.
Yeah, thank you, Director Cerna, and I appreciate the comment. This is an informational item to kind of help as the city crafts their August 10th master plan on what numbers they plan on putting into these locations. It doesn't bind SAC-RT. There would still be negotiations, as was pointed out in the presentation. Certain properties require FTA concurrence, as well as CPUC. So there would be further conversation, and this item would come back. Any safe parking location would come back to the board for parameters and approval.
So depending then, Chris, on what the will of this board decides tonight in terms of general agreement, disagreement, or perhaps we have a ongoing discussion about appropriate number of sites. It sounds to me like there's plenty of opportunity though for the adjacent property owners and business districts to hear further from the likes of you and others that have been steeped in this for some time, and perhaps even give us the ability to reach out to them as well, correct?
Certainly, if that's the will of the board, we would definitely want to talk to the community members surrounding sites and make sure that whatever is designed works for all parties.
Okay, great, thank you. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, thank you again for the opportunity to speak here. I just wanted to, since my name was mentioned in the staff presentation, just share with my colleagues that I did have the opportunity to visit the Roseville Road, prospective Roseville Road locations. I believe we looked at two different sites in the Swanston RT station as well, and I think we heard clearly from Lisa that that particular site had perhaps even more challenges than Roseville Road. And what struck me about Roseville Road, having walked the site, is just how large that acreage is, and how few spaces are actually being used. And given the fact that I think you can, pretty satisfactorily self-buffer the impacts associated with a safe parking program there, gave me a lot of comfort to understand. I think that, of all the sites, probably certainly has, I think, some great potential to, as others have pointed out tonight, to try and make a dent in what we're all trying to achieve here. But certainly, the largest city in the county of Sacramento are seeing the brunt of much of what's going on in terms of the increased homelessness that we've seen with COVID and what those impacts are. And so I am generally very supportive of the concept, but I think we do owe it to adjacent property owners and PBID representatives to make sure that they have every opportunity to fully understand what it is that we're proposing. And I would hope the City of Sacramento representatives on this board would share that sentiment. And if we choose to this evening move forward in some way with supporting this concept, that we would all make an effort to partner with those property owners and the PBIDs to make sure that there's no misconception about what we're attempting to do. Thank you.
Director Cerna. Director Natoli.
Yes, thank you, Chair Miller. Appreciate the staff presentation. Some follow-on questions. So as we heard from folks this evening and read into the record, as an attachment to some of that correspondence, there was a letter dated July 1st this year, so a few weeks ago, that was addressed, I believe, to the City of Sacramento, and it was from the Watt 80 district, from the Business Improvement District there, and it had, actually from A to Z, a number of questions regarding the proposal, and I trust it was focused on the Roseville Road site, but could be applicable to the other two sites, as we heard from folks at least as it pertained to one of those on the Florham roadside. And so I guess I'm curious, and I guess would ask this of staff, because it kind of goes back to how this was brought to people's attention to begin with when it was cited, and I trust that it's accurate, that folks only learned of this less than a week ago, and that was via the staff report that either RT issued or there was some contact made by RT staff. But these questions were posed, and again, maybe maybe there's not answers to all these, but I think they're legitimate questions regarding both the siting and the oversight at any of the locations. But I think, as to what rules are going to apply, and recognizing that some of these issues, and people are coping with these right now in the business improvement district, and it's not all related to homelessness, but some of the activities that tend to either discourage the conduct of legitimate business in the areas, but certainly can impact upon people's decision to invest in those communities, and so what I guess my question to staff would sum it up this way is that I trust you've seen these questions, and again, some of them go to presentations that were made here this evening by Ms. Hines and certainly by Brent and Chris, and I see it as more than just detail to be worked out. These are essential, I think, to not only engaging and involving representatives, not just of the business community, but maybe surrounding in neighborhoods as well, certainly that may be already feeling the impact. And so my question then is to staff, what is the role of our staff in facilitating addressing these questions? Again, the council obviously will take this up to Sacramento City Council, but a lot of the area, particularly when it comes to the Roseville roadside, is in the unincorporated area. It's in Supervisor Cerna's district and Supervisor Desmond's district. And we had a presentation just at our board 2 weeks ago about, some of the ongoing work and accomplishments, but certainly some of the issues that, separate and apart from any proposals such as this are already being countered out there. So I'll stop there for now. I guess for Chris, Brent, Lisa, where are the assurances that these will be addressed? And is it the hammer that the RT board, I guess, hammer in the sense that we ultimately would have to act on this along with other regulatory agencies? But I think these are very, 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 important questions, and they need to be addressed.
Chair, I know Supervisor Natoli addressed that to staff, but is it okay if I chime in to try to answer?
Don, are you done?
Well, I posed a question. I want to make a comment when we're done. I appreciate Katie certainly choosing to want to respond, but so I'll hear what the response is. And again, I didn't pose it to my colleague, but I'm fine if Katie wants to respond. But I am not done. And after I hear a response, I do want to make some comments. So.
Okay, and I have other questions too, so we'll just go back and forth here, Supervisor. But just for, this is a new concept for all of us. And as the person with like the 2 city safe grounds in my district, I can tell you it's an evolving process. As we negotiate ongoing safe grounds right now, the process has generally been to negotiate the agreement before the final approval. And so like what I'm doing right now with other private landowners is we're having the conversation about these parameters, about these questions, about the rules, about what my colleague would just refer to as good neighbor policies and standards and expectations across both boards before a final decision is made by the entity who we're asking to let us use their site for safe camping or parking. And so this would be a negotiated process. I can tell you out the gate that a lot of these questions have been answered through our existing safe grounds, and I can speak to that more in a minute. And so there are very clear standards and best practices that we've evolved through those safe ground practices, but this would be the beginning of a conversation. And I think to your point about the process for the business owners, everybody's always surprised when they hear about a safe ground nearby, but this is still really early in the process. I don't think any of us are imagining that this would move in the next couple of weeks with RT, that we'd have time to get more input from folks and to work out an agreement that makes sense, including potential indemnification against liability for RT, as other parameters that we've been looking at with other sites include that. Thank you.
Katie.
Supervisor Natoli, this is Brent. Maybe just to kind of give you a direct answer to your question.
Yeah.
I think what's important to know is, back in January, we had one director, Director Jennings, approach us about this concept, and then subsequently we've had other directors mention this. So I think what's important is we've got a million of projects that we're all working on. So the idea today is to bring forward this concept. Is this one of the items that the SAC-RT board wants us to prioritize? That's how I see this as, before we start doing one-offs and coming up with all these little parameters for each of them, I think collectively it would be helpful for staff to receive direction from the board, and if this is the right way to go, or if not, let's shift directions and try something else. So that's maybe kind of the idea. And then if there is, the two paths are, if the board wants staff to continue with that, it'll help us kind of then start getting more interaction with the public, getting more parameters defined so that you could come back and vote on something. And if not, then we actually go back to working on the other projects that we're doing. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that does, Brent. And both you and Katie, I appreciate the comments. So I take from your comments then, if given direction this evening or soon, then it would be RT that would take the lead on the public engagement, since there are RT sites, obviously, whether it's a city or any other entity that would seek to locate these there, they would be, a partner in that effort. But if given this as a task, then you would make this a priority, and an RT would be responsible for the facilitation and, seeking not only answers to questions, and maybe the answers are out to a number of these, but that role would fall to you then, Brent. Is that correct?
I think we would definitely be.
Brent, let me just chip in here. The comments so far we received from all the directors are exactly what we hopeful for this meeting. And like Brandon just mentioned, since January 7 months ago, we start to work with Director Jennings about Franklin Light Rail Station. And since that time, RT staff and the city staff have worked together on lots of details. So, I'm not trying to give board some type of guarantee or whatever, but I want board to know that we have been talking about some details, because ready to make this project, if we move forward or not, or if we're going to make sure that if we move forward, we make this project successful. There are lots of details to talk about, to address, and these details, the concerns brought by these constituents today are exactly the point we would like to engage the process. Would like to engage. So it's an ongoing team effort between RT staff and city staff. And today, we just present this as an informational item. We very much like to get the feedback from the board members, and I have talked to chair, vice chair multiple times in the past, and we talked to mayor's office, and I had the mayor's office very much took lots of our proposals, such as how about the phasing, pilot, and those type of stuff. So it's really it's a team effort. We're going to, since we got so many feedback, so right now we needed to go back to work with these constituents by working with the city staff.
Okay, thanks. Just real quickly, and I know others may want to weigh in, and I didn't mean to cut you short. Two things then I would just ask. One, it was raised as to whether this would be considered a temporary use or would it be long-term. And I do think, because that's not really addressed in the questions I see. Well, I do see it in one of the questions that the PBID submitted. But, as these sites, they're going to require, if they do go forward, major investment ongoing for a number of the activities there. But I think that question certainly needs to be answered. And I would just, the other question I would pose, certainly from RT perspective, and I know it was referenced in a couple of colleagues' comments, that, and I've been out on Roosevelt Road and I've seen, the encampments, the ones you can see from the road, and I'm sure there's many more that, aren't immediately visible. But, what, if any, will be done to address, because I hear that this is going to help make a dent, but what does it do if folks choose not to take advantage of what would be offered at any location? And is there a spillover effect? And what latitude are either RT officials on the remaining portion of the site? And again, detail that I won't explore any further this evening, but I think it's really key, because it kind of goes back to the role that we play in transportation and movement of people and providing for safe, secure, and certainly accessible and affordable transportation for any who choose to use our services. And we want to be a strong partner, but I still think that the impacts need to be weighed very carefully. And I appreciate certainly the effort the city's putting into this. I know the county certainly is looking at aspects of this as well as other cities, but we certainly need to engage the community and those in the unincorporated area as well as in the incorporated cities, and certainly elected city and county representatives, and particularly as it relates to the Roseville site. But even on Florin Road, where as you traverse Florin Road, there's a portion not in the immediate area, but certainly that's in the unincorporated area and within that partnership as well. So that's all I have right now, and I appreciate the comments from RT staff and my colleagues. Thanks.
Director Chenier, followed by Director Valenzuela.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. So, a couple things, and I want to thank everyone for being thoughtful about this. I particularly want to thank RT for what you've done thus far. And just as we've talked about you being a model and other things for the country, you've been a model organization and how you've been dealing with this and being part of our community and helping to find solutions in this. So thanks for your leadership. I think one of the comments that we heard that Cindy read was someone saying that a single business or organization can't solve this problem. Well, that's absolutely true. This has to be a collective and regional solution because it's a collective and regional challenge for us. We are all suffering from this. Our businesses are suffering from this, and most importantly, those who are homeless and unhoused are suffering from this. And we have to provide the moral leadership, I think, in this region to take the problem head on. We're obviously all elected to make hard decisions, and this is a hard one. There's no question about it, because there's no good answers here. But if we don't move forward on something like this, and I want to remind people, this is a part of a much larger solution, and our conversations both within the city and the siting plan that we're doing, and our conversations with the county, and looking at how we can best work together to attack this problem and attack this challenge. So it's not, these three sites are not going to solve the problem. They're pieces of a much larger puzzle that we need to get after. Our business community is suffering. Our neighborhoods are suffering. I get multiple emails every day about encampments in my district. And if we don't bring these folks who are unhoused under some kind of shelter and connect them with services, it will only get worse. I think that is the alternative that we're looking at here. And we have to be very clear-eyed about that if we don't do this, it's one more piece of people saying, someone needs to solve the problem, just not me. And I think we need to step up and play our role in this, because it's incredibly important. I read through the questions that were in the public comment piece. They're all reasonable questions and they're all answerable. And I think that we can ask our staff to very quickly work with RT staff and provide answers on those. So that's the number one thing. The other thing, I just want to address a little bit of what Don was talking about and talk very briefly about the work that I've done with the WX shelter, which is in my district. And I'm sure Katie is going to talk some about the safe ground spots, because I think we do have experience now that we didn't have a year ago or 2 years ago. And I think that's really incredibly important. We were held up actually by the Trump administration for a while, but even without that, we have brought the community together on an ongoing basis to talk about the WX shelter, which will eventually, COVID permitting, serve 100 individuals and should be open hopefully in the beginning of September. We brought the community in because the community told us this is a major problem. And so we wanted to work with them to create some ownership of what was happening at the site. And I think we've been successful with that because the conversation changed from we don't want this here to how can we work together to make it happen. And also, you know, the many commitments that we're making to the community, which I think would parallel commitments to any communities in which we're having safe grounds. So number one, we said that the shelter that we're putting at WX and Broadway and Alhambra will first serve those most in proximity to it. So the encampments that are across the street, down the block, a block away in the other direction, those will be the first 100 individuals that we will take into the shelter to hook up with services and hopefully get them on the road to permanent housing. We worked with the community around a good neighbor policy. And so the community gave us their suggestions about what they would like to include. We looked at best practices on those, and we will have a good neighborhood policy signed by the operator as well as signed by the city. So those are really important things to look at the safety and security part. 24-hour security, and I wasn't familiar with the PUC recommendations, but I think we can talk about all of those and hopefully facilitate that. So I think that where we are today is to try to provide some direction for staff to continue to work, and I hope we do this, for staff to continue to work with our staff at the city, with some staff at the county as well, to come back a much finer degree of packaging for this proposal that we will need to meet, certainly, and at RT's direction and hopefully in partnership with city staff, we will need to meet with the surrounding communities. But we need to, as a bottom line, move forward on these things because we need to get after this problem. If we don't, then, you know, again, as I said, it will just get worse. And it will be to the further detriment of our business community, of our neighborhoods, and most importantly, to those folks who are unhoused. So again, I want to thank the RT staff. I think you guys have done a really good job. I know we have a lot of work to do. I hope to work with you on the Florin Road light rail stop, since that is in my district, and I now have some experience going through that with a lot of the community. But I think times have gotten so much worse in the last couple of years that the people are thinking about this a little bit differently. And much of the business community that I've talked to understands that it's just imperative that we get after this, and they are willing to help, understanding that, again, there are no great choices here, but I think our only choice is to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jay. Katie?
Thank you, Chair, and try not to repeat my colleagues' eloquent comments, but I will just say that one of the things that really struck me about the comments was the comment about looking at this through the business perspective, because a lot of what the stakeholders in my district talk about is that it's not the business perspective versus the housed residents perspective versus unhoused perspective, that none of us are okay with what's happening on the streets of our city. None of us are okay with what happens on Roosevelt Road, what's happening anywhere in our city. It's just not okay. And the end solution is not safe grounds, right? Like the end solution is housing, is services, is some place for people to go that's actually indoors, that has all the things and amenities that people need more permanently. But that we all also know that that's going to take us years. It's going to take us years to build those services. And what do we do today for the folks that are on the street? What do I say today to the woman who's been assaulted multiple times on the street, who just wants a safe place to camp, when I don't have space at Safe Ground anymore at WX? I don't have have any more space at Miller Park. And it breaks my heart whenever I get one of those calls and I have to tell them, hey, here's a phone number where you can get put on the wait list, hopefully for housing sometime in the next few months. So I do want to just reiterate that I don't think doing nothing is an option. I don't think that serves RT well. I don't think that serves any of us well. I think these sites are incredible opportunities. And when I look at this list of questions, the joy and pain of being the first one is that we have figured a lot of this out. If you had told me that I would have been meeting advocates at 9 a.m. on a Sunday at a U-Haul facility to help use my credit card to rent vans so that they can go out and help people move, I would have said you were crazy, that that's beyond the scope of what I thought I would do on city council, but we did it and it worked. And it wasn't without its bumps. It wasn't without its lessons, especially the site surrounded by Caltrans property. We've had a lot of issues with that we're working through with Caltrans, but our other site, Miller Park, has not had those issues. The other sites that we're working on, we don't anticipate to have those issues because we've figured out now what we need to put in place at the beginning to ensure success at the site. So I just want to say that I think that I'm ready to talk to anybody who wants to learn more about Safe Grounds. My colleagues on the council will tell you that I will talk to you about Safe Grounds all day long. If you let me, if you have any questions, if you want to come to the Safe Grounds at Miller Park or at WX and see for yourself about how they operate and what they look like. Bridget's team on our Department of Community Response is small but mighty, but what they've done really well is hired community-based providers. And so there's dozens of folks that are staffing these Safe Grounds, that are doing trash pickup, that are doing security, that have really started to get into a rhythm that I'm really hopeful we can replicate at these sites. So I guess without droning on for too long and being too repetitive, I just hope we try it. And even if we try it in phases, even if we try it in pilots, I know it's stressful. I know it's a lot of risk. I know it's concerning. The city is really stepping out on a limb though and is ready to figure this out. And when I talk about indemnification, that's an active question we're talking about. That's something we want to figure out because we get it. That taking on liability for having folks staying at your sites 24/7 is a lot to ask. And if we can help with that, we want to figure out how to do that. But in general, I just think that, as Jay said, this is another part of, I think, what could make RT a leader in a different way. We can't shy away from this problem. And honestly, I'm just excited because I think this is the closest to a regional conversation about homelessness that I've been a part of since I've been elected. And I really hope it's the first of many because I think all of us recognize that the city of Sacramento can't do this by ourselves. We simply don't have enough land. We don't have enough resources. We're going to need everybody's help, and not just the county, but looking to our other cities around us and how do we work together on a system that's going to make sense for everybody. So I'll just put those in and say, if anybody wants to come by Safe Ground, I'd love to talk your ear off about how it's worked, the lessons we've learned, the hiccups we've seen, how we've worked through all of that so that you can really have confidence in this decision when it comes back to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Valenzuela. Anybody else?
I just want to say I appreciate all the comments, but I was sitting on this board when we had this conversation a couple of years ago about the Florin Road Park and Ride lot, and that got ugly in part because of the neighbors and the educational institutions that are close by, and the members of the Sac City Council that both border that location. So this is very, very interesting conversation, but I think that the business community absolutely needs to be given the opportunity to weigh in. And I appreciate Katie's comments, but we all understand every community in the region has homelessness issues, and we're all working on it in a way that works for our communities. But I feel like right now, the city of Sacramento, in some ways, and it's no disrespect to the council members in Sacramento, but a big part of this seems to be being pushed onto the county. And again, I'm the one from Folsom that's dealing with, probably significantly lower numbers of homelessness issues. I have also been very, very involved in this issue for a long time. My business partner and I, owning a restaurant, provide food, and we have for a long time. We provide ice. We have homeless people that know they can come to our restaurant and they can get what they need. They can get water, they can get sodas, they can get ice. We provide food for the winter shelter in Folsom for 12 weeks in the winter. So that's from December to March. So I think that we need to have some more serious conversations. The business community needs to be involved. And Katie, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see what successes you guys have had, but I will tell you that I had a conversation with someone that came into our restaurant just in the last couple of days to tell me about a very unpleasant experience in visiting the Railroad Museum and taking the train ride that went past Miller Park. I haven't been to Miller Park in a long time. Used to have a boat that was docked there. So I was very, very surprised at the conversation that I had with the person describing to me what was going on down there. So maybe I have a little bit of insight that might be helpful to you. So anyway, that's just, I think that we need to take this very, very seriously. And I would, absolutely value significantly input from the adjacent business owners and the adjacent property owners. And if RT were to do anything like this at any property that we owned, it would have to be on a very limited short-term basis. I would suggest even 30 days. We see how it goes, and then we decide if we want to continue it or not.
Thank you, Director Howe. Anyone else? If not, I wanted to go over just a few things. I think you all touched on it. Katie, you talked on identification and hold harmless. That's big for me. I haven't made up my mind on this particular topic. I know I'm willing to try and do anything. But also, I think an agreement is key in a way for RT to get out. If this doesn't fix the problem, it just exasperates us with unintended consequences. So those are some things that would help me make a decision on this. I definitely agree with a pilot and phasing these in and seeing how it works. 30 days might not be enough. 90 might be a little too much. I'm concerned about the loitering enforcement and whether or not these sites will be fenced. And I also need to understand the term temporary. I mean, that's in my mind is 6 months is temporary. That's what the code says. So we definitely have to have an agreed upon time with an out clause for RT if it got out of hand. I'd like consideration for restoration of our parking lots and the markings in our parking lots and repairs to any damage along the way. So really, to me, is mitigating the risk to our operating capital funds. That's big for me, and that's what I need to hear from the city of Sacramento. I know housing's important. And of course, the dogs start barking now, so I'll try and wrap up and get that mic off. And it's more than just housing. It is the mental health treatment and services and drug addiction treatment and recovery that's so important. And I know, the biggest thing to do is get the folks that we can help. And I think with, without getting into the philosophical discussion about the homeless and everything, those with cars are probably a little more receptive to help than those without, that are dealing with the mental health issues. So maybe they lost their home or their apartment and are living out of their car. And those are the ones that we need to rehome quickly. On its face, I support the idea of giving it a try, but again, I would want to do it with some safety clauses for regional transit, both before, during, and after. Especially should we get sued by a group beforehand or during, or those are the things that are important to me. So with that, any other comments?
Chair, I do have one question of staff. This is Jeff.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Brandon, can you tell me if the Roseville Road site would require FTA approval?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a concurrence issue because what happens is even though it's Caltrans funded, we also take money and we upgrade that site, and that money that we use can be federal money because we commingle all our funds. So I think the FTA is going to somehow be involved in this, and I think it's a safe bet to get them involved. So if you're going to get them involved in the other sites, it's probably a better approach to get them involved in that as well.
If that's the case, do you have any idea of what kind of time frame it would take to work with FTA to perhaps get tacit approval or whatever we need from them?
That's $1 million question, but I will say we have a really good FTA representative that's been helping us. She helped us with the Power Insight, getting that through the process. But I would say something of this magnitude is going to definitely take, oh gosh, I would say months. I would say 3 to 6 months is probably a fast. Just to be honest, I just being realistic, right? That it's not something that would go over quickly. They'll have typically what will happen is they'll want to make sure we've done public outreach, that we've thought of a lot of questions. They'll come back with some responses to our questions, and obviously if we've got everything nailed down, it's really going to be about nailing down all the answers. And if we can do that all up front, then it goes a lot quicker. But typically in situations like this, when we've dealt with them in the past, it takes an iterative approach that.
So understanding that, Brent, I would hope that this board would give a nod towards starting the process, certainly answering the questions of the PBIZ. I think we've identified that we can do that, but also starting the process with the FDA concurrently, not consecutively, because that's going to be a real time delay that will reduce the efficacy of the effort. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome, Jeff, anytime. Any other comments or questions? Well, this was an informational item. I thank everybody for their input.
Steve, I'm sorry, just can we be clear and maybe ask the general manager or Brent or however they want to do this, what they've heard as far as direction? I want to make sure we're all on the same page. I mean, again, Jeff just said it. I think if we can, the direction I would love us to provide is continue to work with the staff at the city, answer the questions, reach out to FTA, put together some plans for outreach to the business communities around the 3 different sites, and then come back to the board once the city council makes their decisions that these are still on the list, and talk about how to proceed from there. So I just want to be clear that I'm clear on what the direction is, so we don't have to come back on that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Chris or Brent, do you want to respond?
Actually, unofficially, we have talked to FTA, and FTA actually had some, opinions about that. They actually would like to transit agencies to work with the local governments and to say what we can do. So we certainly will continue to work with the FTA. We have not wait on this actually, such as we worked with CPUC, and the CPUC gave us some feedback. So like earlier I said, we have been busy trying to see how we can moving forward one way or another, address some concerns.
So Director Chenier, if I'm correct, you're asking for feedback on the points we all gave them?
Not necessarily, just that we're on the same page about what the next steps are for staff.
Got it.
But I think we're okay here. Unless there's anything I just said that's not the direction that we're going in, understanding that some of my colleagues on the board have more questions than others, and have points that need to be answered, and I think that staff needs to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it gives you something to work with now, knowing when you go into your meeting what RT is looking for as well. So I hope that's helpful as you put your plan together. Anything else? All right, let's move on to the next item then.
Next item is item 8.1, the general manager's report. And in the package under B and C, there are 2 Capital Corridor JPA meeting summaries from the June 16th and June 30th meetings. If Chair Miller has anything to add before Mr. Lee starts his general manager's report.
No, they were so thorough, I have nothing to add.
Perfect. Mr. Lee?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I want to first just add one additional remark related to Shirley's staff report regarding the APTAS award. The award looks at the achievements over the last 3 years now. And the award is really an award to the entire Sacramento region. And we could not be able to achieve these achievements without our dedicated member of over 1,300 employees, and also strong leadership from the board and extraordinary partnership from all stakeholders in this region, including unions. So I want to make that clear. I want to thank all parties. I also like to remind everyone to continue to take necessary precautions to protect and prevent the spread of COVID-19. Cases are on the rise, and the emergence of the more transmissible Delta variant is a reminder of how powerful this virus is. We have reinstated all SACRT employees, regardless of vaccination status. They require to wear a mask indoors to help prevent the spread. With the Delta variants on the rise, safety remains the utmost importance for our employees and customers. So we're changing our policies along the way. Sadly, recently we have experienced a loss of a couple beloved team members due to their medical conditions. In remembrance of all of our fallen SACRT team members of the last year, please join me for a brief moment of silence. Although each of them had played a critical role at SACRT, I know the board was most familiar and interacted with Daryl Abencedo, our engineering director. Daryl has been a valued and loved member of our team since 1998 and will be greatly missed. I know many of you worked closely with him on so many capital projects and had a smile that would light up the room all the time. Please keep his and other foreign employees, family, friends, and co-workers in your thoughts as they go through the difficult times. Another subject, 2 weeks ago, Chris and I joined Chair Miller and Vice Chair Kennedy at Siemens in South Sacramento to meet with the leadership team and to tour the facility. In just a couple of weeks, Siemens will officially begin production of our 20 new low-floor light rail vehicles with the manufacturing of the frame for the vehicles. Michael Cahill, the CEO of Siemens, mentioned that how excited his workforce is to begin building new cars that will operate in the backyard. In addition, SACRT Mobility Advisory Council, MAC, was able to recently tour Siemens factory and to provide insight on the new vehicles we will be receiving. The MAC was very impressed with the new vehicles and is excited for the delivery. I would also like to acknowledge that today, July 26th, is the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was signed into law 31 years ago. The ADA is one of the Americans' most comprehensive pieces of civil rights legislation that prohibits discrimination and guarantees that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to participate in the mainstream of American life. And on June 28th, we celebrate the one-year anniversary of SACRT Go paratransit services. Since bringing the operations in-house, we have provided over 180,000 rides to customers across the region, with over 96% of satisfaction rate. We are also proud to have grown our ADA boundaries through recent annexations and service expansion, benefiting our riders by eliminating the need for transferring services at city boundaries. We mentioned in Elk Grove that the first ADA customer who took the ride from Elk Grove to the state prison in Folsom. That's a long drive. In the past, we had to transfer them. Now, that's just one ride. So speaking of the annexations, on July 1st, the city of Elk Grove officially annexed the transit services into SACRT. That's why you notice today, the rep from the Elk Grove, the board member, Pat Hume, he has 13 votes instead of 3 votes in the past, he had. We held the ceremony on July 1st in the Elk Grove bus yard. I can tell you that SACRT has tremendous support from the city of Elk Grove and all 5 city council members, including mayor and supervisor and attorney, attended the ceremony. With the annexation, we have truly become a regional transit district once again, 15 years later. We all should be very proud of this achievement. Quickly, next I would like just to briefly share that SACRT's own brand is named by the Sacramento Business Journal as a CFO of the Year honoree. Brent takes his responsibilities of managing SACRT's finances very seriously and is consistently seeking out creative ways to improve SACRT by being innovative. And he has done a tremendous job setting SACRT up for success into the future. Congrats, Brent. In closing my remarks, 2 weeks ago, Vice Chair Kennedy and staff were joined by Congressman Amy Barra at our Martha Felt Mills Library Station. The House of Representatives has passed a historical surface transportation reauthorization bill that significantly increases transit funding levels above the baseline. And it's about more than 40%, more than the baseline. And more importantly, for the capital improvement projects, and the FTA is emphasizing that they will based on the merits of the project. Congress is still working out various details on this bill, and also a broader infrastructure package. It's been nailed down within the Senate in the last couple days. Additionally, Senator Alex Padilla has submitted a $10 million request in support of our library modernization program, and we are hopeful it gets incorporated as the Senate marks up the legislation. Also, Congresswoman Doris Matsui is helping SACRT to secure $25 million request from RACE program, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. This concludes my GM report. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Henry, for your report. Any questions for Henry before we move on? All right, Cindy, next item, please.
The next item is reports, ideas, and questions from directors, if any.
Are there any?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Right. Go ahead, Director Budge.
Hey, I would ask that we adjourn tonight in memory of a person that many of us knew. His name was Jim Notley. And Jim is a person who actually, according to the Bee, at the age of 18 months, contracted polio. We all knew him in his adult years as a person who was a strong representative of everybody with mobility issues, the entire disabled community. And actually, the last time I saw him was at a Friends of Light Rail meeting that was held in the RT boardroom several years ago. Jim was just a wonderful person. He worked for he served to further regional transit, to further light rail, to get the whole system up and running. And he has passed away within the last few months. And we really just need to honor his service to the efforts of not only the disabled community, but those who are always working for transit mobility.
And what was his name again, Linda?
Jim Notley, Notley.
Thank you. Any other comments, ideas from the directors? Hearing none, we're going to recess the closed session. And Henry, do you expect any reportable items out of this?
Not necessarily.
So if we have a reportable item, I'll reconvene an open session, but otherwise, if there's no reportable items, I will recess in memory of Jim Notley, and we will move to closed session.
Do we have to, we don't have to get back in, do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
No, we don't.
thank you.
Director Howe. Chair Miller,
Thank
if
you.
I may read the closed session items before you adjourn.
Yes.
Thank you. Closed session item 13.1, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B, as in boy, anticipated litigation, one case. Second item 13.2, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, district negotiator Stephen Booth, employee organization ATU. And with that now, Chair, if you'd like to adjourn.
Well, we'll recess to closed session, and then how's that sound?
Thank you.
Hey, and thank you. Good to see you and hear you again, Cindy.
Thank you.
All righty, so let's kick everybody out. Can't go into closed session, and we'll give it a few seconds.